Welcome, 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 or welcome back. I'm Goddess Dawn. It's Sunday, July 14th, 2019, and I'm here to talk about the latest Robert Kelly arrest. Most, if not all of you currently watching this video are well aware that Robert Kelly was arrested by federal agents as well as officials from the NYPD in Chicago this past Thursday, July 11th. He was out walking his dog not far from his residence at Trump Tower, Chicago. His Pomeranian, said to be named Believe, when he was apprehended without incident. The new charges are well documented. There are 18 new indictments, 5 out of the Eastern District of New York, specifically the Bronx, and 13 out of the Northern District of Illinois. He will face these charges in both Chicago and Brooklyn courts. And I'm going to jump in with this edit. It's actually Monday. I'm trying to post this video today, but court is tomorrow, July 16th, Tuesday. So I think what we're looking at is whether or not he's going to be extradited to New York, whether or not he is actually going to be granted bail. I say yes on the extradition and no on the bail. What do you think? So, let's just break the charges down real quick. So the new charges include child pornography, enticement of minors to engage in criminal sexual activity, obstruction of justice, racketeering, transporting minors for prostitution, and coercion or enticement to engage in criminal sexual activity. These indictments are the result of investigations by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. Taken together, the 5-count indictment from the Eastern District of New York and 13-count indictment from the Northern District of Illinois present a harrowing account of a 19-year criminal enterprise comprised of managers, bodyguards, drivers, personal assistants, and runners, all designed to, quote, promote R. Kelly's music and the R. Kelly brand, and to recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity with Kelly. And this is coming from the New Yorker. There is so much information out there, not only news sources, but YouTube videos. I'm sure you guys may have already read and watched a few of those. So, I have my own spin on things, but we're not done yet here. The federal filings also refer to but do not name or charge Kelly for his controversial marriage to Aaliyah. I believe she was 15 and he was 27. And there are also abuse allegations tied to this relationship. So the fact that it's listed in the indictment is really just showing, I believe, a pattern of behavior dating back to when he was in his 20s. He's now in his early 50s, 52, 53 years old. And even with all of the close calls that he's had with regard to being held accountable for these crimes, he still continued to show his ass, basically. He couldn't fight the demons. He couldn't do it. They're saying that with these new federal charges, he could spend a total of 195 years in prison. Obviously, that's life plus, if he's convicted. So his attorney, Steve Greenberg, as per usual, is waving all of this off as them piling on charges from previous years, and that this is decades old stuff, making it seem as if, he's looking forward to getting his day in court so the truth can come out and all of that, yada, yada, yada. In my opinion, Steve Greenberg is merely an actor in this situation here, doing this merely for clout. I doubt that he's getting paid. The PR guy, the crisis manager, Daryl Johnson, already stated that he is not being paid for the work that he's doing. He tried to separate himself from R. Kelly by saying that he was employed by the attorney, Steve Greenberg, but then later admitted that he is working for Robert Kelly. And all of this, again, is all for clout. They know all eyes are on them because of the nature of the crime and also who the accused is. in this case, Robert Kelly. They have federal litigators said to be set up for these federal charges. They have a female attorney who has come from Detroit. Also, she was a prosecutor, a sex crime prosecutor, who has now joined his defense team. Also, I feel that she may be one of the main faces when the trials move forth. Having a woman as the face of the defense is a smart move. It's strategic. And especially being that she's coming from the prosecution side of the sex crime arena, she does have a lot to offer the defense with regard to insight and, you know, whatever it is that she can provide. They're not going to get any better direction than from someone who fought people such as themselves successfully. This is the third time charges have been brought against him in 2019. And we're only in July. And like I said, it's definitely not over. It said that since Kelly's arrest Thursday evening while he was walking his dog outside of his apartment at Trump Tower, Chicago, he has been held at Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center. Prosecutors in the Eastern District of New York are seeking to transfer to their jurisdiction, and in a memo to the court, prosecutors are asking that he be held without bail while awaiting trial. Richard P. Donahue, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, said in a press release, quote, "This indictment makes clear that fame and power will not shield anyone from prosecution," end quote. Ultimately, that depends on whether Kelly is convicted at trial, a fate he has avoided for all of these years. And this is again from the New Yorker. But I want to talk about the tapes that are being reported to have been turned in by his ex-employees as well as current employees. There are said to be multiple victims on these videotapes. Prosecutors have confirmed with multiple witnesses that the girls were underage. Several of Kelly's ex and current employees have flipped and turned over tapes to investigators. These are my notes, so sorry if it sounds like kind of out of order, but these are the notes that I've taken since I've been researching this stuff since Friday as much as I can. I have a lot going on, but and it's Sunday. I'm just able to record, and it probably won't even be published until Monday or maybe even Tuesday. It takes some time to also edit. I do appreciate you hanging in there with me. I just want to throw that out there. But to continue on my notes, it says that the tapes have enabled the feds to secure the indictment. So that was kind of like that last nail in the coffin that they needed in order to move forward. As I had reported previously, the feds were speaking out against Kim Foxx, who is the state attorney in Chicago, because they had asked her to hold off on her arrest so that they could all do it together, but it didn't work out that way. She went ahead and indicted him on criminal sex charges. So again, the Eastern District of New York, or the Bronx, he's facing 5 charges, producing child porn, 4 charges of that, and receiving child porn also. And he's also facing 5 counts out of Illinois, racketeering, and the Mann Act, which is the sex trafficking, coordinating or coercing women or people into travel for criminal sexual acts or prostitution. And this is also 4 of the charges. So the initial tape from the 2002 arrest, which ended up in a 2008 acquittal because the victim at the time was 14, R. Landfair. I have done a video on her. I know a lot of people are against the fact that she's out there. She was documented on paperwork, that is, you can easily find it, and also there are so many other videos and people talking about her. So I just kind of like, went ahead with it because of that. I would not have been the first one to break that information, but it's already out there. So anyway, I have a video or maybe two on her and what happened at that time, which was that R. Kelly paid her and her family off to travel overseas and be unavailable for the trial. They were not there to testify. And they also, in the grand jury hearing, denied that it was her in the tapes. So with that, there were also other bribes and other coercions that took place to keep people from testifying. This is where the obstruction of justice charges come in with him and his crew, paying people off. They have also said to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to track down the tapes that were, some of them came up missing at some point. He, was said to have kept duffel bags of tapes just with him, like a gym bags full of tapes. And people, he would put in charge of them, and they ended up on the streets. They ended up getting bootlegged, and it became a business in itself. And when the questions started coming surrounding some of his behavior, he started panicking and figuring out that some of these tapes were missing. So yeah, they spent a lot of money trying to wrangle these tapes, and now the ones that people still have possession of have been turned over to the feds. So these are not old charges. These are new charges with new victims and new allegations. I mean, it's just like some of the behaviors are the same. And actually, going back to our Landfair and her family, it was reported that the girl and her parents were bribed to lie to the grand jury and deny that she had sexual contact with Kelly. Federal filings cite a payment of $30,000 to the girl's father and a gift of a GMC Yukon Denali SUV to the girl herself. So the initial payoff was $30,000 to the dad and Yukon Denali to her directly. So they thought they were balling. He got cash in hand and she got her a new truck, and they thought that that was enough to pay for the transgressions against the young girl. He sold his daughter for $30,000 and a truck. Okay, so they say that other witnesses were intimidated into giving false testimony about the star's illegal acts through, quote, physical abuse, violence, threats of violence, and blackmail, end quote, by Kelly and his associates. And again, the former manager, Daryl McDavid, and personal assistant, Milton, aka June Brown, were, they've been indicted also. And I am not positive that this is the last of the indictments for the associates, or I think they are calling them the enterprise in the indictments. So as a part of the enterprise, are we done yet? I don't know. I think that there may be more people coming down the pike, unless, everyone has turned on them. Looks like these two guys probably did not snitch. And this is why, or, maybe they also were, was evidence against them also from the other people who snitched and turned on Kelly, and they just can't get out of it. You got to be careful the decisions you make about how far you will go for someone, and jeopardizing your own well-being and freedom at the same time. You got to give yourself a little more self-worth. You're worth more than these things. Your life is worth way more than $30,000 and a truck. So the notes about the tapes, they come from the Savages attorney Gerald Griggs and federal law enforcement sources. The Savages, they are definitely savages. I mean, they have been relentless and consistent when it comes to defending their child and trying to track down their daughter, Joycelyn. There was a press conference by Daryl Johnson, who is R. Kelly's crisis manager, and the Savages interrupted him about Joycelyn's whereabouts. It got pretty intense. He admitted then to not being paid. There was a welfare check done on Thursday, the day of the arrest, and that welfare check, well, apparently now they're saying that Joycelyn and Azriel were actually evicted from the Trump Tower apartment because the feds have commandeered it at this point. But it sounds like they were already gone by the time the parents got there. They were questioning Daryl Johnson about the whereabouts of their daughter. I'm going to insert another edit here because since I recorded this initial video, Azriel has come out as spokesperson for she and Joycelyn to let us know that they are actually living at Trump. They've been living there for years, and she showed a view of the room for proof, and also just was very adamant about the fact that they come and go as they please. They even had gone out that morning and weren't bothered by anyone. It was very obvious that she was very guarded, the way that her body language read. She had her arms crossed over her chest. Joycelyn, to me, looked very pale. She was very quiet and seemed to really kind of not be there, like she was on something. I don't know. She didn't look good at all. She actually had me a little concerned. Azriel, she just had her chest puffed out like she was protecting the realm, and she has her feet stuck in the sand with regard to her decision about being R. Kelly's girlfriend. So I need to edit this in because, you know, since, like I said, the initial recording, there's been updates. I want to keep this as fresh as possible. These videos take me a lot of time, and I'm not going to be chasing R. Kelly stories throughout the week just to, for what? I'm not in a race. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, though, for listening, and back to my video from Sunday. And, you know, he actually also said some things that had me scratching my head. And I'm wondering, is he actually working for the prosecution undercover? I mean, even the back of his phone looked like it had big letters on the back, FBI. His hand was covering up the last letter, but it looked like FBI, like property of the FBI. Anyway, he was very adamant about the fact that he had nothing to do with whatever is going on with Joycelyn, and that he's willing to talk to them after his press conference. But they kept interrupting because they are heated. They're looking for their daughter. I guess they probably knew this arrest was going to happen. They were in Chicago waiting with bated breath to reunite with their daughter, and she was gone. They say R. Kelly had one unit in the building, which was in Azriel's name, and that the girls were temporarily kicked out during, but have since returned. Azriel's parents do not believe the two women have a suicide pact. So the suicide pact, I think, was coming from the Savages. I'm not positive on that. But, you know, those of you who do know my channel know that I also do readings and mediumship work, and I'm an intuitive. And with that said, I've done readings where suicide and murder-suicide have come up in the readings. So I did pull some cards today to just kind of get an update or refresher on what looks like is coming down for R. Kelly. You know, as you know, that any reading is not going to be in stone over time, because the person or people in question are going to be making decisions and dealing with other things in the world that may affect the outcome of certain things. So you just, you know, things change and move all the time. So if a reading comes out a certain way, it could be that, but then also in the blink of an eye, in the change of a mind, in a change of a person or character coming into play, things change. So, you know, you can't hang your hat on a reading. With that being said, like I said, I did do readings that stated this was going to happen. I mean, and things were really intense at that time. It was right before, I think, the first arrest this year. Back to Daryl Johnson, the crisis manager, you know, there was just a lot of double talk, a lot of back and forth with the family. He's very condescending. and how he speaks to people, and just very unprofessional. I've done a video also on him, or where he was a main focus of the video. And also Steve Greenberg, same thing. I feel like he's basically an actor. They're both clowns. They come across, you know, for the untrained eye and ear to appear to know halfway what they're talking about, and could even sound confident enough in what they're saying to, you know, make someone believe them, and, you know, win people over. But, you know, when you really look deep into their answers and the way they, you know, carry themselves and such, you realize that these people are nothing but fluff. They're only there to fulfill a role that is needed, because R. Kelly's fame is on such a high magnitude. There has to be handlers around. So, you know, with such a big name, R. Kelly, you know, his circus needs handlers, and these handlers, Steve Greenberg, Daryl Johnson, the people behind him when he's going to court or whatever, are there just to manage the situation. Like Daryl Johnson says, he's a crisis manager. He's just managing things along. He's not resolving any issues. He's not putting out any fires. Steve Greenberg isn't probably doing any work. He's just a face, a figurehead. I'm sure there are a team of people probably going through all the charges and things like that just to sort things out and see where they are. But I don't really see people, especially when they're not getting paid, they're going to put actual manpower behind somebody with such great amount of evidence stacked against them. Somebody who has had previous allegations, trials, and close calls years ago, up to 20 years ago, with the same exact charges, the same transgressions, the same transgressions, the same crimes. Someone who hasn't learned, someone who hasn't been accountable. And, you know, with regard to the girls, not even just Azriel and Joycelyn, but there are said to be other girls who are being held or being housed, if you want to just put it that way. What about their safety? They could have the key to lock the cell door for him with all that they've seen and heard in these past few years. These women aren't the ones named in these indictments. So these women are literally targets for harm to come their way in order to make sure that they stay quiet. He has a habit of paying people off, but does he have that ability anymore? You know, I really just send prayers out and really hope that they make it out of this situation safely and unharmed. It's just really sad that there are people out there who are so needy for the type of attention that he gave them, and so broken and weak-minded in a sense, not to be offensive or not to offend, but the level of weak-mindedness in order to be able to be put in a situation like this is pretty great. And it's just really sad that this had to come down to this. New charges are probably going to come down on him. They're expecting charges from the IRS for tax evasion, maybe more enabler arrests. And, you know, again, he's still fighting the 21 state charges out of Illinois, aside from these federal charges. Really, those state charges are minuscule in comparison to these federal charges. The evidence that's stacked against him is said to be pretty strong, and, you know, obviously only time is going to let us know how this is going to play out. So I'm definitely going to stay tuned. You know, you can't really help but to stay tuned. It knocks you over the head as soon as something goes down with him. It's all over the headlines, and you can't go anywhere without seeing what's going on. So with that being said, you know, I do appreciate you still hanging with me, like I said, and checking in with me. And so, like I said, I'm an intuitive, and I did pull some cards on R. Kelly and a little meditation. And what the meditation revealed is that R. Kelly is very possessed, that there are mostly sexual demons, but demons rule him. I've said this in the past, but this was reiterated today. The real Robert Sylvester Kelly, the little boy who was violated, abused, broken down in every aspect, is no longer there. He flew out. Probably the real meaning behind I Believe I Can Fly, because that little boy is up out of there, and that left the hole for the demons to fill and use his body to do all these disgusting things that they've been doing over the years. So, you know, God bless that child, Robert Sylvester Kelly, and all that he had to endure, and, you know, just find a way out, which was to escape spiritually. So on to the actual card readings from here. So here's my final edit for this video. I wanted to wait to post the card readings until after the court update that is going to take place tomorrow. I want to get this posted today, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. Thank you again for coming back to check me out. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe, like this video, and comment. I'm here for it. Till next time, peace.